You're listening to The Young, where young people have real conversation on how to live a life worth living.
What's up, guys? Welcome to The Young Podcast. I'm Nicole Stark, here with Camille and Nate Torres.
Yeah.
And so today we're basically just going to talk about who we are, what we do, and we have a few questions to answer. So we're excited about this. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
All right, the first thing we got here is who are we? Like, who the heck are we?
Who are we?
Like, what is The Young? Who are we?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm young.
I'm young. No, but seriously, who are we?
We are the Rock Jesus Club.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have a ministry at the Rock Church called the Rock Jesus Club, and so we're gonna create a podcast just straight from that ministry of the Rock Jesus Club, and so that's super simple.
Yeah.
And then the next one is really our heart behind this podcast. I think, Nate, you want to share a little bit of why we wanted to do this.
Yeah, well, we call it a life worth living.
Yeah.
That's the line that follows The Young, and we really just want to empower you guys who are listening to us. We really want to just be able to be something that you guys can listen to, that you'll find hope in, you'll find either purpose in, and you'll really just leave this feeling inspired,
Yeah.
feeling encouraged, and really just, I think the main takeaway is hope,
Right.
but not from us at all.
Yeah.
Definitely just from the testimonies and from the
Yeah.
things that God has done in our life.
Right. Yeah, and I love it too because the next thing we're going to is why do we say a life worth living?
Yeah.
And I think too a part of that is really from a scripture that I love. I got it tattooed on my hand right here, in Roman numerals though. But it's John 10:10. I love this scripture, and it's oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. Tattooed to me. No. Okay, it says this. The thief comes. The thief only comes except to steal, kill, and destroy. And then Jesus says this, but I have come to give you a life, and a life more abundantly. And I feel like for us, we don't want to live a boring, normal, regular life.
No.
But we want to live a life worth living. But a life worth living is found in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, what do you have for me? And so I really think that's kind of why we wanted to start this podcast and all this stuff. And so we're going to get into these questions. Y'all ready?
Yeah,
So
let's
ready.
do it.
Okay, so I have a question. It's not on here, but I want to ask y'all, what does a life worth living look like in your everyday life? Like, what does it look like for y'all?
Cam, you want to go first?
To me, honestly, a life worth living is just really not living the average life, because when I was around 15, I just decided within myself I don't want to live like everyone else. Because what it looked like was you just go to school, you go to college, you get a job, have that job for a certain amount of time, and hopefully you make it to retirement and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, does my life start at retirement? Does my life start when I get out of college? When does my life actually start?
Yeah.
And I really settled it within myself, and God really showed it to me that life starts right now, especially as a young person. We don't have to wait till we're older to live a life worth living, and especially one that pleases God, because most people mix that up. They're like, well, if I live a life worth living, that means I have to go and party every weekend. No, there's a great life inside the will of God that is so much fun. And I really feel like I'm living it. I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm solidly living that life
That's
right
so
now.
good.
So good.
So,
I'm a huge Jonas Brothers fan.
yes.
And I remember I was watching the Jonas. This is kind of really funny, but it really spoke to me. So don't tell me the Jonas Brothers. God won't use them. But they were, I think, at the AMAs or the VMAs, whatever award show, and Nick Jonas was 16 years old. Okay.
Yes.
And I remember they were singing their song Tonight. And I remember watching a 16-year-old Nick Jonas strumming his guitar, belching the song out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Dad, that dude is living his dream.
Yeah.
And I remember I was 13 or 14, and I thought to myself, why can't I live my dream now?
Yeah.
Like he is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think a lot of us are, we put limitations on what God wants to do because of how old we are.
Yeah.
Or because, I can't do this because I'm only this amount years old, or I can't do this because I still haven't graduated this, when in fact God never really limits us.
Yeah.
Right? We always put limits on ourselves, and God says, hey, I want to do what however old you are now, I want to use you right now.
Seriously.
Right?
Yeah.
And before Nate answers this question, there's this awesome girl, she's 11 years old, okay? 11. And I ran into her on YouTube, shout out to YouTube.
Hey.
And she got asked this question. Some adult asked her, hey, instead of asking her, what do you want to be when you're adult? This adult asked her, hey, what do you want to do now? And she said, I want to run a business.
Dang.
So homegirl goes to her dad and says, hey, can I get $20?
Come on.
She gets $20. She goes to the store and she starts making these bracelets. From $20, this 11-year-old started selling these bracelets, and it became a multi-million thing. And she's like 13 years old.
Oh my god.
I was like, bro.
Come on.
But because somebody asked her, hey, what do you want to do now?
Yeah.
Right? What more can God do with the time if you give it to him today?
Yes.
Rather than saying, well, I'll just wait till I'm 40 to be something. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm easy now.
Yeah.
So anyways, Nate, you.
Yeah, a life worth living. I think for me, actually, I read an article recently written by Mike Rose. He's the head of the board of education, I think, at UCLA right now.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And,
Educated.
I know.
Articles.
Anyways, it was titled "I Just Want to Be Average," and it's about his academic journey. And what woke him in the school system was the fact that one of his classmates said, "I just want to be average," you know, and really and truly, that's what I think a life worth living is not being complacent and not settling for, I think, what's given in front of you. And I think a lot of people, when faced with adversity, some people are like, I'm completely fine with that, you know, and it becomes more of like, well, that's a type of person thing, you know, or some people also say like, well, you know, I just have some of those days, you know, where they may feel defeated or just an off day, but I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I think we're all empowered. We're all given a purpose, and I think through God and His plan for your life, I think that is definitely a life worth living by finding that purpose and just asking Him, and I think there's joy in just following through with it.
It's good.
And knowing that the world standard of average isn't your marker at all. It's just something just like that just drives me, at least.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a life worth living
That's
is.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's never a moment in my life where I was like, I want to wake up and just be regular.
Definitely.
Right. And I don't think I've ever said like I want to live this awesome life, but I feel like, and I know this sounds so Christianese, but the reality is it's true, is when you start to understand who you are in Jesus, there's all of a sudden this awakening, and at least for me, when I started to read the Bible and God was like, hey, I've got a purpose for you, it all of a sudden was like, I don't have to like, I'm Filipino, so every Filipino's a nurse, right? So, no, it's true.
Literally.
Like when I realized, like, man, God actually has a purpose designed for me, for you. Like wherever you are, God has something specifically for you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I remember just reading my Bible and realizing, man, God actually loves me so much that He designed me for a purpose and for a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna follow that plan.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about you, but I feel like following Jesus is so much more worth it than doing what everybody else
seriously
has done.
Yeah.
And both of you guys graduated high school 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What is maybe the difference maybe from following Jesus or let me rephrase it. Before you follow Jesus, like you fully were like, okay, God, like I'm gonna fully follow you. What do you think is the biggest difference from where you were in high school to where you are now? Like what is that one thing where you're like, before Jesus, this is what I really was dealing with, but after, this is kind of like what I received from Him?
Definitely purpose. I was reflecting like maybe a few weeks ago, and I was just thinking like I never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. I remember being like 10 years old, 5 years old, people saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone around me was like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a firefighter. And I literally never had something to say.
Yeah.
And I would just say like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I would just make things up. I was like, I want to be, I don't know, an engineer. I have no idea what an engineer does. If any of you guys know what an engineer does, let me know. I really have no idea.
Honestly, people be like, civil engineering. I'm like
what?
Good for you. Congrats, honestly. But I remember the moment that not really the moment I encountered Jesus, but like after I encountered Jesus, like I feel like this sense of purpose was just like instilled into me.
Yeah.
Where I really feel like there was something to like worth living for. Because before I was just kind of doing it because like, you know, I'm here, I'm just obeying my parents, just going kind of like through the motions, make sure I get straight A's just for the sake of getting straight A's. And like graduating high school and college just for the sake of doing what everyone else is doing because, like, that's why we're here, right? No. Like, I remember, like, just God reminding me, like, what my purpose is and, like, letting me know that, like, my life does not revolve around how much money I make. My life does not revolve around who supports me or all these things. Like, it's just, like, living a life completely before him, you know? And just, like, loving his people, I really feel like is something that was handed off to me from him. And so just, like, that's what my life is right now. But purpose is something that I really feel like I lived without. And I never knew that I was living without purpose until I met Jesus.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. With me, I remember, funny story real quick, in preschool.
He's gonna take it back.
No. Trust me, I'm gonna jump at it. This is just like, you just had, because Cam brought it up. She's like, I never really had anything to say. And it's like, girl, like, you think you didn't have anything to say? Like,
shoot, I don't.
Like, people would go up like, I want to be a firefighter, right? Like at a preschool graduation.
Yeah.
I want to be a policeman, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I loved who my dad was.
Yeah.
You know, he's awesome and an amazing father in my life. You know, he just like showed love on me.
Yeah.
So like, my dad is like my superhero. You know. So I went up there and I was like, well, I want to be a banker just like my dad.
Oh, I thought you were saying you were
like,
gonna be a dad.
Hey,
like,
hey.
yes.
No.
Give me a few years.
Yeah. Whoa. Anyways, yeah, because I loved who my dad was, and I thought if that's what a banker does,
Yeah.
I want to be just like that,
Yeah.
you know. But of course, time went on and stuff, and I began to really think like, what am I gonna become?
Yeah.
You know, in high school, you make so many small choices that you know are gonna have big repercussions, even when it comes to what classes you're taking.
Seriously.
Right.
And so I was just thinking, man, I'll be a doctor. You know, I just kind of set that out because I was trying to make bank. You know, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And I remember just encountering Jesus and realizing that, like what you said, Cam, like really just finding purpose and the fact that I have a voice is something that really changed my life, I think, because I never really tried to express myself in a variety of ways in which I do today, as well as just taking ownership of my identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think purpose and identity are two things that just like I didn't have in high school.
Yeah.
And being where I'm at now, I definitely could say I have both of those, and I'm just happy, like you said, where I'm at.
So good. I want to ask, I think hopefully a lot of young people are listening to this, not just older people.
Yeah.
But, you know, in high school, I feel like when you say, hey, follow Jesus, it's so, like, taboo. It's like,
Yeah.
What do you mean follow Jesus? Why am I going to follow Jesus? And then when you invite someone to church, it's almost like, bro,
like, hey, bro, the first one was like enough right there, but that second
church,
step,
you're like, I don't think I could do it. For me, I remember when I was a freshman, I grew up in a Christian home and I grew up in church, so church was so normal to me almost. But for maybe about 2 years, I stopped going to church. I really focused on basketball. I remember my best friend invited me back to church, and she invited me to a purity conference, but she didn't tell me it was a purity conference.
Ooh, purity.
She said, hey, you need church, and I fought it for so long, right? And she's like, just come to me to this big event, like it's going to be amazing, it's at my church. So I'm like, all right, it's an event, like I can go.
Yeah.
So I pull up, and it's a purity conference, and I'm like, sis. But I bring this up because so many times people think Jesus is all about rules.
Yeah.
Church is full of imperfect people, which it is, because if you go to a perfect church, you'll never find it, right? But what do you? I want to talk about this. I want to tackle this discussion of how Jesus never came to give us rules and regulations or a do's and don'ts list.
Yeah.
And church isn't this place where everyone becomes judgmental, but it's honestly a place where you can come as you are. And I know maybe not every church is like that, but I sure know the church we attend, The Rock, man, it's a place where you come as you are, no matter your background, no matter what. We love you. We're here for you. I mean, you're going to grow to get to know who Jesus is. Yeah. But what's one thing maybe in your life where you're like, I came to Jesus, like what was that moment where it was no longer a rules and regulations thing, but when was that moment for you that you're like, man, Jesus is actually the real deal, and he's not who everybody says or tweets he is? Like, what was that moment for you?
Yeah. Kind of got to think about that, honestly.
Yeah, it's like a deep one, huh?
Yeah. Because
I kind of think about it too.
Like, honestly, if I'm gonna be really, really honest,
yeah.
I kept coming to church because there were cute boys like everywhere.
Okay,
like,
I can relate, but like the other way, but yeah.
like honestly, I just kept coming because like I saw a cute guy and I was like, that's cool. I think I'm kind of down for church then, you know, and it honestly just was like that for a while until one time I went to just the summer camp and they just started talking about like the love of Jesus and that was the first time something like that was even like presented to me that like God doesn't expect us to be perfect.
Right.
My whole world like my whole worldview just shattered because like half of my life I grew up kind of like Catholic, so I went to Catholic church. You have to like go to like the confession booth and you have to like sanctify yourself before you even go inside. You can't wear certain skirts or whatever, and you can't show up a certain way, and so like when you go in there you kind of feel like this shame. And so when I first started coming to church and I already knew my intentions, like, oh, there's a cute guy here, like I felt that shame. And so then when I found out that Jesus isn't all about rules and regulations and that he literally just wants our heart, I was like, that's a foreign concept. You know, I thought that he just wanted me to go to heaven. I never knew to the deep extent that the reason Jesus died on the cross was not just to die for not just to clear our sins and our like our mistakes, but he came because he wanted to be with us.
Right.
I was like, that is crazy. Because why would a God who created the whole universe be so like intentional and so interested in my life that like he sent everything like for me. And so like just finding that out, because I feel like most people have this preconceived notion that God is just someone who created the earth and he like dipped. He was like he's like I'm a finna dip set. I'm just gonna like not show up. I'm just gonna be like the guy upstairs or whatever. And he just like never wants to be involved in anything we say, and we just think like, oh, God gives us like cancer or whatever and all these things, and little did I know that he wants to be involved in every single detail, you know. He wants to give us purpose and he wants to give us life and he wants to spend every single day with us. That's and just to love on us because like he created us for relationship with him. And like the moment I found out about that, I was like, there's so much more to this than I ever knew. You know, I thought it was just something that I attended. But God really like showed his love to me on a major scale that I was like, that's crazy.
So good. So good.
For me, I think I spent a lot of my time like before that moment that we're talking about, like praying to God, knowing he hears me, but not listening, knowing he has something to say, you know?
That's good.
And I would just like go to church because like I saw like a cute girl and I would, you know, listen because I know my parents are gonna get in the car and be like, well, what did you learn in church today, you know? And I'd be like, oh, I learned this and this. And then until one time I came for a Wednesday night service, I thought, oh, I'm gonna be a Christian. I'm coming to church not just on a Sunday, but a Wednesday too. Not just Wednesday, the Wednesday night. Like, come on, somebody. Like during the summer too. Like, cool. So I pull up, and this is like my first time coming to the youth group on Wednesdays, and I heard it's lit too, so I was excited. And like it turns out everybody went to summer camp. So I was like, I guess I'm not making real like friends tonight, you know? I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't know anybody at the church anyway, so I was like, it's cool. I'm just gonna do the same thing I do: go in, sit, get out. And there was a guest speaker that came in because everybody was at camp.
Oh my gosh!
And it was insane because this was the first night where I wasn't really distracted by anybody, and I came in really just thinking, I'm gonna come to church and listen for the first time because I'm not here for a Sunday. You know, this is actually me being a Christian. You know, what does this look like? So I remember just coming in, and it's crazy how God just lines everything up. You know, the pastor the guest speaker, whom I never met, just shared a message that was just correlating with everything I was going through, and I remember just feeling already like, whoa, you know. And then there was a moment where she just stops her message and then just shares some stuff that directly correlated with my own life, like very specifically. And I just had this moment where I was like, she has no business doing that. Like, not in an offended way, but in a way where it's like, okay, if I'm a plumber and I'm fixing a toilet and I see that somebody I don't know, cabinet breaks, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna stop my job just to fix their cabinet. That's a
Yeah.
carpenter's job or something,
Yeah.
right? But she is in the middle of her message, stops just because God gave her something from me.
Wow.
I thought, I don't know a lot about Christianity. I don't have, I guess, a strong relationship with God.
Yeah.
But whatever that was, that she just said something that she didn't have to, that for me, she doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want that.
Good.
Whatever that is.
That's so good.
Whatever that is. I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it asks for.
Yeah.
I don't even care how I'm supposed to live. But whatever that is, that's what I want.
Wow. Yeah.
And after that night, I remember just going home and also being like, God listens.
Dang.
Come on, that's so good. I think too, sometimes what we forget, and sometimes maybe I feel like, not maybe, it is, I forget this, that God is so relational.
Yeah.
Right? Like, God never came and was like, hey, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get my love. And you're not going to get my peace. And you're not going to get this and all this stuff. God's like, no, just come to me.
Yeah.
Right? Who you are, with your brokenness, with your mess, I'm telling you, I think that was the biggest thing for me. Where I knew at 14 years old, this insecure, bound girl who was so, like, I would cry myself to sleep. I can come to this real God who actually so loves me. For me, like, it doesn't make any sense why he loves me for me, but he does, because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, come follow me.
Yeah.
Hey, come be with me.
Yeah.
I require nothing of you other than, could you just come?
That's crazy.
Follow me and let me lead you to freedom.
Yeah.
Let me lead you to a life worth living.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the simplicity of Jesus. And I feel like for a lot of us, we overcomplicate really the simplicity of what it means. Like when God says, follow me.
Yeah.
But Jesus is just like, hey, I want to give you a life worth living.
Yeah.
And you're going to find that if you choose me.
Yeah.
You're going to find that if you follow me.
Yeah.
And though there is some sacrifices we have to make, right? There's going to be a lot of no's we're going to have to say. But saying those no's to say yes to Jesus,
So
I
good.
think is so fulfilling and so worth it. And so maybe just a last question here. I don't know what time it is. But, man, what does it mean for you guys to say yes to Jesus? Even in those hard moments.
Yeah.
You know, like, maybe even share a little bit of your story about internship and kind of what that looks like for you, and maybe Cam, college, and where you are now. Like, what does it mean to say yes to him?
Yeah. I think just before, like, we dive into that, I feel like just something to add on from that last point is that I think the majority of young people want to live a life worth living.
Yeah.
If you see like a bunch of these influencers and everyone's just trying to make a name for themselves, it's because they want to live something
So
not
true.
normal.
Yeah.
You know, like as young people, we don't want to just be average, and I think that's something that's so common within our generation.
Right.
That like we don't want to be normal. We don't want to be like our parents. We don't want to be like anyone before us. And like that's just a desire I feel like God's given us specifically. Right. And so because of that, like he calls us in. And I feel like he's become so attracted to this generation because he has exactly what they need. And exactly what they want. And so if you're listening to this and you're a young person, you're like, you know what, I want a life worth living. Like, know that Jesus is not like your parents. Jesus is not like your school teachers. Like, you don't have to earn anything in order for him to love you or for him to want you and give you the things that he's already desired to give you.
So good.
And so, like, we live in a world, like, in a life that's so conditional where we need to earn something in order to get something. But Jesus is just saying, like, I'm taking you just as you are, and let me lead you in this life, because he doesn't want to just throw you in there into the dogs, but he's wanting to hold your hand through his entire journey and say, like, let's do this together.
So, and I love it too, you said this. How cool is it that the God of the universe, like, this God, Jonathan, young adult, spoke about this last week, like, he's the one who breathed, like, galaxies.
Seriously.
Like, this God wants to know us.
Why?
But personalize it more, this God wants to know me. Like, he wants to know you. and not because he's mad at you,
Mhm.
but because he so loves you.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like, that blows
That's
my
so
stinking
good.
mind.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you know, like, we know us.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, me.
Yeah.
Like, I wake up
Yeah.
in the morning and my hair is like a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, right now.
Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, but yet he's like, yeah, you.
Mhm.
And not only do I love you, but I've got something great for you.
Yeah.
So good.
It, like,
Yeah.
that's life worth
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
That's
Seriously.
life worth living.
Yeah.
So.
Especially because of the rejection that we face a lot
Oh yeah.
with our peers, and
Yeah.
and we really feel like we're someone's second choice.
Yeah.
And to think
good.
and to know and to find out that
Yeah.
the God of the universe chose us first.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't
Right.
add up, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But he's good
So
like that.
But here we are.
Here we are. Seriously.
Right? Oh, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, just going back to your question now, you said, just to make sure I remember it
Yeah.
exactly the way it is. Now you were just talking about living a life worth living.
Yeah.
What does that look when you are in a relationship with Jesus?
Mhm.
And you know, what maybe sacrifices need to be
Yeah.
made, or you know,
Yeah.
how does that look or
Yeah.
something?
Right.
Yeah, so you know, those of you who are listening, you don't know me. Maybe I'm just an ambient voice in your headphones. Maybe
Weird.
I'm just a guy on YouTube you're just watching because you ended up on this page or something. But my name's Nate. Hi, nice to meet you. And this past year, I actually graduated high school. Well, not this past year, but 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Graduated high school. And in my relationship with God, he led me to not go to college that following year and just serve at my church in the internship program for an entire year.
Yeah.
And that was rough, you know.
Yeah.
that took a lot of like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Facts,
you know.
yeah.
And I think a lot of it too was I wasn't questioning God like, oh God, who are you? Like, no, I was just asking God a question like,
Right.
okay, can I hear that again? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
and just really spending time and seeing. I love one of my friends shared this with me. You know the heart of somebody by what they speak. You know, because what they speak is also what they do.
Yeah.
And how you know the heart of God is by His Word.
Yeah.
And how you know His Word is also by like what He does as well.
Mhm.
And so really just spending time to find out the faithfulness of God,
Wow.
find out the promises that God has for me, and then being able to say, okay, that's what my Father says, so now I'm just going to have to hold on to that and know that God is faithful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just went into this internship, and 12 months went by. I remember our graduation was 2 days before it was 365 days.
Dang.
Wow.
So it was almost exactly a whole year.
Wow.
And I remember finishing that year just thinking, wow. Of course, I had some doubt. I had moments where I was like, did I really give it my all? Did I really surrender everything?
Sure.
Even though, like, I did.
Right. Yeah.
But amidst this process, I had just questions where I was like, man, God, how come I just still struggle with some things?
Sure.
Or how come I'm surrendering and I should feel as close to you as I possibly could be? I'm not at church every day. But sometimes I just feel more distant than I've ever felt.
Wow.
Wow.
And really it just comes down to knowing, one, of course, like church isn't church is, it's a building, but no, church is the people. It's not the building. So it's the gathering of people. And the relationship you have with God doesn't have to do with church. It's your personal relationship with Him. So if you're not investing in that, but you're investing in church, like that's like a whole nother thing,
Yeah.
And it freed me up from a lot of things. And I remember just having moments where I would just be like, God, I'm a young person. I feel good, but this is a lot you're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think people always tell you, man, your youngest years are the most valuable years.
Right.
They always reflect on high school.
Yeah.
They always reflect on, I remember when I was just like 21, 18, and all my friends are like going out, having fun.
Yeah.
And even like I'd be at like a grocery store because in this internship I have to give up social media.
Yeah.
And I'd see somebody and they'd be like, Nate,
where you been?
Where have you been, man?
Yeah.
Like you're not posting anything. Are you okay?
Disappeared.
And I'm just like, and you can't deny what you've been doing for like 7 months straight.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like, you can't be like, I've been sick,
Yeah.
real sick. So I just go, I've been serving at my church.
Wow.
And at first, it took a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah.
Because then the following question goes, really?
Yeah.
But really, in serving, in pursuing the words that you're saying,
Yeah.
you know, you have to own up to it a lot.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a problem that a lot of young people face because sometimes we spend time pursuing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
We spend times, and I know other people are going to be like, well, what's wrong?
Right.
You know? But
Right.
like, really and truly, man, like, it's just a matter of like, I believe like, you know, conviction but not condemnation, like what you're talking about, Nicole. You know, like in a marriage,
Right.
what's wrong is you're not supposed to be cheating on your spouse.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
And you feel convicted if you were to do something like
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
And when you're in a relationship with God, you'll feel conviction for doing things that you know don't
I
honor
shouldn't
that
be.
relationship.
Yeah.
And
so good.
a lot of times we say, oh, but Christians condemn. It's like, no, the devil condemns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Holy Spirit, the person inside of you,
Yeah.
he convicts you
Convinced. Yep.
to help you honor that relationship.
Yeah.
And so when people ask me, what were you doing? I
Yeah.
felt that conviction, like, I got to honor this relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one
Wow.
main thing I've learned from this internship
So
is
good.
with sacrifice comes the honoring of it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, I think what a lot of times our generation either struggles with in order to obtain a life worth living is like we'll make like sacrifices in secret
Oh,
and
that's
then
good.
and then either expect them to be recognized and they're not,
Yeah.
like athletes who work hard to
Yeah.
achieve success,
Yeah.
and then when they don't achieve the success they either give up
Mhm.
or they're like more motivated to work harder.
Right.
You know, there's a switch. Or when it comes to like people just listening to different things or doing their own things in private,
Yeah.
and then not wanting that type of thing to be exposed because they don't want to honor that part of their life. You know, I think
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of young people struggle with. I know, like, I struggle with that in certain areas, but one of those areas in particular was my relationship with God. But now being able to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I have a relationship with God,
Right.
and look what it's done in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something
Right.
that, like, man,
Right.
that sacrifice, like, I want to put that up
Yeah.
because it's brought so many things. One quick thing I'll share is if I hadn't taken this year off of school, now going back to school, actually, there's a new, like, I guess, act or something, and it's like my first year of school is completely paid for,
Yeah,
Wow.
that's so good.
and I would have had to pay for school and everything
Wow.
if
Wow.
I went my first year.
Yeah, and then I
Dang.
love that too because what you thought might have been, God, this is like a setback.
Mhm.
This isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
God's like, this ain't a setback.
Yeah.
Really, He's setting you up for
Yeah.
something we never even thought.
Seriously.
And I think that's like the beauty in serving Jesus as well.
Mhm.
Is He already knows.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but He sure does.
Yeah.
Right? And I think like I don't know about you, but I love like your yes, because I think now you're able to look back 5, 10, 15 years from now and still see some of the fruit
Yeah.
of what took place in just 1 year to Jesus.
Yeah.
And so,
And I-
dang.
And I feel like a lot of people could see that as a setback
Sure.
because you did what for a year
Right.
and then you're going to college, like
Right.
like you like people could see as like
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you were gonna go to college anyways, so
Yeah.
why didn't you just go in and jump in, right?
Right.
But one thing that I found out, like just getting closer to God, is that He doesn't do things in the order that the world usually does
Right.
things, you know? And I feel like people can get it mixed up and just like get it confused because they're like, well, if I'm not doing it in this certain way, nothing's gonna
Yeah.
come out of it. And yet God is asking us, like as young people, to trust Him with everything that we
Sure.
have, that what He says is true, and that and that like we can have faith in Him that He's
Yeah.
gonna complete what He said,
Right.
you know, and we don't have to depend on our own selves
Yeah.
to complete what we want to do,
Right.
but we're trusting in Him to complete what He wants to do.
So
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like because like internship is like something that some people will laugh at, you know, like family
Definitely.
members especially,
Oh yeah.
or just like people in general, and it's something that like you didn't earn anything out of it. You don't have no college credits.
Yeah.
You didn't have a job. You paid money to be in this
I
internship.
paid money to clean restrooms for 3 months in a row.
Praise God.
Yeah.
But bless the Lord,
Yeah.
because he's making a way for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, he
Definitely.
is.
I mean, shoot, like, what kind of young people have a podcast that was just given to them that you know is gonna reach people?
Yeah.
And like that reward, just knowing that people are gonna be uplifted by this.
Yeah.
People are like, man, God, thank you for
Yeah.
even using me
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how good God is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And I love it. And hey, we're going to end here, but before we end, 15 seconds. Y'all got
Okay.
15 seconds, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
She's like, alright. Y'all got 15 seconds. In 15 seconds, if you could say one last thing,
Okay.
right? I mean, we're going to see him again. But in this,
Yeah.
you got 15 seconds. What's one thing you would say?
Go ahead, Nate.
I love it.
Wow, delegation. All right,
There we go.
15 seconds. Ready, go.
Yeah.
Don't spend time doing something that. Okay, restart. And ready, set, go. Make a decision and commit all the way. In skateboarding, it's called full send.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
I'm gonna go
skateboarding.
all the way. It's fun slang. I love the slang.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
making a decision is better than not making one at all.
That's good.
Ooh.
Because if you're going somewhere and it's the wrong place, you'll know not to go there.
Yeah.
Rather than keeping on pondering
Yeah.
which way is
Mhm.
better, right or left. All right, 15 seconds is up. Cam, go.
That's good. Do continue pursuing
She
Jesus.
said do.
Because I hate don'ts.
Continue.
I hate don'ts. When people say don't, it makes me automatically want to do it. So what I
good.
say is
Do.
do continue pursuing Jesus.
That's good. Bars.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. And if you haven't continued pursuing Jesus,
Start.
I encourage you to start. Yeah.
It's good.
15 seconds. Okay, don't quit.
Don't quit.
Yes.
I think too many of us give up too quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like the moment you want to quit is the moment where your breakthrough is actually going to come.
Ooh.
Come
So
on,
don't give
somebody.
up.
She was
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Alright, so I know I was the last one. That's a good one.
She's like, I don't want to sound like Nathan.
Oh,
No, I'm
man.
kidding.
Okay, I know we only scratched barely the surface in
Yeah.
today's podcast, but good news.
We got more.
We got more coming for you. So
Yup.
if you enjoyed it, keep listening. But thank you so much
Share
for
it.
listening. Oh yeah, share it.
Share it.
Share it on your
Like
Insta
it,
story.
comment.
Comment, do all that fun stuff
Yes.
that you
Share it
cool
on your
kids do.
Insta story.
But we'll be back sooner than later.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for listening to the Young Podcast here with Nate, Camille, and myself, Nicole. We love you all. See ya, and peace out.
Peace.